So by the time this recording comes out Thursday, I think that we're going to have some pretty cool information about the Mandalorian and Grogu from the Empire magazine, and not just about Mandalorian and Grogu. They're like updating things about, like, especially the Odyssey. That's the one on the cover. But a lot of movies coming out in 2026. One of them being the Mandalorian and Grogu, and we're aware that's out on Thursday. We're not recording this on Thursday. So if there's any huge news that comes out of that, be sure to know we already know about it, and we're going to be talking about it. And you can follow us over on our social media accounts to get our hot takes of if there's like any big news coming out of that, which I'm not so sure that there's going to be huge news.
Yeah. If anything, like the Empire magazine articles usually give you a really good, kind of quote unquote first look at some stuff. Like normally there's a lot of new images. We can learn about some characters and stuff like that. I'm thinking about I really enjoyed the Force Awakens stuff that they did. Like at the time that the sequels were coming out, I always looked forward to the coverage there.
Yeah.
So, maybe there will be some cool tidbits. I could really use a nice juicy nugget, I think. Either that
give me some nugs.
A little insight into anything story-wise, because I think that's the biggest component of what we're missing right now. We have a good idea of a lot of the characters involved. We've seen what it's going to look like, all that kind of stuff. But just, we could use a little bit to go on as far as like what are we doing during the movie?
I've got a great idea. I have not run this by Mac at all, but we're going to go ahead and do this right now on the podcast. Let's go ahead and just pre-record some reactions of some things that just maybe will appear in the Empire magazine. Okay. And we've got the audio, we got the blurb. We can post it on social media, and we'll do it that way. So I'm going to do it first. I'll go first with, oh wow, look at Hondo Anaka in live action. Whoa! Wasn't expecting that. He looks so good.
Yeah, I can't believe that they went with prosthetics and practical effects over motion capture. I think that's the correct choice.
Wow.
Do you see this planet? I think, could that be Nar Shaddaa?
No way, Nar Shaddaa, man. Yeah, I love Nar Shaddaa in KOTOR too. There's our KOTOR reference for the podcast. Ooh. Look at Embo in live action.
Oh.
Embo.
Yeah, interesting casting Christopher Walken as Embo. That was, we'll see how that plays out.
I'm a bounty hunter.
Rada the Hutt. I have no Christopher Walken.
Yeah, I don't think I have a good one either.
I can do lines sometimes that he's said. I can imitate them, but I can't do original content. Yeah.
Could you imagine if he said Rada the Hutt? That would be just
Rada the Hutt.
Rada the Hutt.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, maybe some of those pieces of information will turn out to be the case, and we can get some good use out of this recycled audio.
It was so sad too, because we didn't even go like that crazy. That's how we just are so in the dark about this movie. Is like we can't even like crazy speculate because we don't have anything to base it on. That's about as crazy as it's getting right now. Is Hondo Anaka and Embo and Nar Shaddaa.
Yep. Well, you are listening to Children of the Watch. I'm Mac Lacey.
And I'm Alex Maxwell, and today we're continuing with the Mandalorian Rewatch with Season 2, Chapter 11, The Heiress. If you are new to our podcast, we break down every single episode of Star Wars television, scene by scene, to analyze the story, find for Easter eggs, and explain how it all connects to the larger Star Wars universe. And originally, our friends from Blast Points were going to be joining us on this episode. Due to some scheduling issues, we just could not do it on this one, but they're going to be joining us in Season 3 for The Foundling, and I cannot wait for them to be on the podcast. I hate that we couldn't get them on this week, but we're going to have fun anyways, because this is one of my favorite episodes of The Mandalorian, Mac, directed by none other than BDH herself, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Boom. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching this episode back.
So
It was
good.
always one that I enjoyed. It was always one that kind of was pretty high in my rankings, particularly for season 2. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just time or what it is, but it hit me a little bit different watching it. It's just one of the best showcases of the kind of storytelling that the Mandalorian excels at, I think.
Yeah.
It's really well paced.
Yes.
There's some great character work, but it's paced really well.
Mhm.
We're not getting bogged down in exposition and stuff like that. It's all done mostly through very cinematic means. The action is incredible. There's some amazing shots that I don't think are, the normal fare for the Mandalorian also that are making an appearance in this episode. I love when Bryce Dallas Howard gets her hands on some Mandalorian stuff. I always think her episodes shine, and this is no exception.
Dude, I'm right there with you in terms of I loved this episode when it came out originally.
Right.
And I've always loved this episode, but man, it hit me in the right spot today when I was rewatching and taking notes. I was just like, man, this is such a great episode. And I think too, just following up on last week's episode of like getting back to, wow, big things are happening again. And really, if you think about it, from here on out in the season 2 arc, there are no more like lag
right
in the story at all. It's just go from here.
Yeah, for sure. Last week's episode, The Passenger, chapter 10, it's really fun. I'm glad it's in the Mandalorian series and all that kind of stuff. It adds some cool characters, some good dynamics and stuff like that. But pacing wise, narratively, it is one that I think the biggest function it accomplishes is just getting the Razor Crest really beat up. Because that kind of dictates what has to happen in this episode to some degree. So, I think that's and you can accomplish that in any way. Nothing in chapter 10 was necessary to accomplish that means, I think.
Yeah.
But when you get into this episode, like you said, from here on out, it's stuff that matters. And I'm not I'm a huge fan of a lot of the episodes that people call filler episodes or things like that. I don't see it that way. But I don't think you can really say there's too much filler after this.
Not really. And like I could see some people thinking the Siege next week's episode might be that a little bit, but like I think we pretty much get a proto Snoke in that episode.
Right. It's for I think narratively for the Mandalorian, the same criticisms of chapter 10 could be levied, but for Star Wars, I think we're going to look back eventually,
big.
And there's going to be some massive payoff on that. Connections to the sequel trilogy, all that kind of stuff, like you said. So
seems like a big deal to me, but man, I agree, dude. This episode just hit me in the right spot this go around, and it always does. And of course, the writer, as always, is Jon Favreau. It premiered on November 13th, 2020. So again, we're like right behind a few days of when it actually premiered 5 years ago, which is insane. And again, I just want to say, like, reiterate, think back to when you watched this the very first time at 3 a.m., or 12 a.m. if you're on the West Coast. Like how much fun it was to see a Clone Wars character come to life in this episode.
Yeah, I think maybe some of my one way in which my appreciation has grown for this episode is actually through getting the Ahsoka series.
Yeah.
Because that was such a kind of it gave me something I never knew I needed as badly as I needed it, which is the live action interpretation of the Clone Wars. And it felt just like a Clone Wars episode at a lot of times with that era of Anakin and making a return and that kind of stuff. This also has that feel, not in as big of a way, but I think maybe part of my appreciation for this episode stems in just how much it does feel like a live action continuation of these characters that we've been watching and sticking with through the Clone Wars, through Rebels, mainly just talking about Bo-Katan, and also just seeing like her version of Mandalorians put on screen in live action for the first time. It's really cool.
That was always going to be something that the show had to address, is because in the lead up to The Mandalorian, we had originally done like, hey, let's watch all the Clone Wars, Rebels, and stuff. How do you address the difference in Mandalorianism? And they didn't really bring up the fact that Bo-Katan was out there in season 1. I mean, there were hints at it, but like really we just focused on the Children of the Watch in season 1. Yeah. So we knew at some point, I didn't think it was going to happen this early, that Bo-Katan would have to be dealt with in terms of the show, because the show's called The Mandalorian. You cannot address, you can't not address it, I guess, is the thing in the show. You have to talk about it. And I like how they just kind of go head into it. And, the way, and of course we'll get into it as we get into the breakdown, but the way that they kind of confront and narratively create this, hey, here's different sects of Mandalorianism that we weren't even aware of, I thought was really, really brilliant in this episode. And they got the right person to direct it with Bryce Dallas Howard.
I agree. It is an episode that requires a certain finesse and appreciation of nuance to get all of these little character things. And BDH is, I think, the perfect choice for that.
She's so good, dude. Yeah, she truly, I think she deserves a movie. She needs a movie so bad. I would love to see her direct a Star Wars movie. But let's get into it. Let's talk about why she would nail a Star Wars movie by breaking this down. And let's start off with the crash landing on Trask. The Razor Crest limps towards the moon of Trask, still half broken from the last episode, and Din's flying manual because the landing array and guidance systems are basically decoration at this point. Yeah. Nothing is really working on the ship anymore. It's in bad shape.
He's trying to land a boulder. That's basically what he's trying to accomplish.
Yep. Grogu and Frog Lady are bundled together in the cockpit while Din warns them the landing's going to be rough. Re-entry gets spicy. The ship is burning. Alarms are going off, and Din has Frog Lady hold a lever because that's apparently the only part still cooperating, and like she's like holding on for dear life not to let this thing fall.
Yeah, I really think Frog Lady's contributions to Din and Grogu's survival are very underrated. She held her own against all the spider monsters, and I think if she wasn't in the cockpit, Din and Grogu maybe don't make it through this landing.
That's why we love Frog Lady. That's why I do, and probably why you should as well. She gets it, man. She gets me. All right, so. Down on the surface, a Mon Calamari dock worker watches the Razor Crest coming in way too fast, and he looks like he's already mentally filing the insurance claim here of like, this isn't gonna work. Like this isn't good. And I just love, number one, we've got a Mon Cala in a sweater.
Yeah, I love Trask it seems like Trask is kind of just an extension of what Mon Cala has going on, or like Mon Calamari.
It's like a colony of Mon Cala.
Because it's still Mon Cala and Quarren living side by side. I guess just due to the moon's aquatic nature, it works out. But I love the sweaters. I remember they had a big moment when the show was coming out there, because they're
forgot.
Like whoever made them sold out because everybody bought.
They found them. Yeah. I totally forgot about that.
I can't remember exactly where they came from, but it was a situation like
Sears or something.
The IKEA rugs were identified as being part of the Game of Thrones, like the Night's Watch uniforms.
Yeah.
It was a situation like that. Everybody rushed to buy them. So,
dude, you unlocked a memory that I literally have not thought about in 5 years.
Yeah. There was a big cultural zeitgeisty thing around this episode in particular, I think. We'll get into it, but we were just so surprised that a boat was featured in Star Wars.
Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah, that became a thing that people were talking about, not just on like Star Wars Twitter, but on like the broader internet.
I feel like we helped steer that conversation. I remember when the trailer came out, we got so hyped about a boat in Star Wars. We were like, oh, look at the boat.
Because it's just not something you get to see that often. No, you see a bunch of, we've seen submarines, but
no boats.
Yeah,
no boats. Not like that. God. We learned this from the Art of the Mandalorian season 2. That is essentially a design from the sequel trilogies that they just used in the Mandalorian, because Rey's planet of Jakku was originally going to be like a watery planet instead of a desert. So that's one of the designs of the boats that they just like, oh, we already have a boat, so let's just put that in here, which is so cool. I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, I forgot about the sweater. Did not forget about Bodie McBoatface, of course. I remembered that. But man, the sweater. Trask flight control tells Din to slow down. By the way, that's Bryce Dallas Howard talking. Din tries, the ship disagrees. He lines up with the landing pad, and the landing struts promptly give up on life.
Yep.
The Razor Crest tips off the platform and falls straight into the ocean. And the moncologist sighs and calls in a giant crane to pull the wreck out of the water. Can we talk about the giant crane?
Yeah.
Love this crane. And I don't know if this is like the toddler in me somewhere, like 3-year-old Alex is like, ooh, look at those machines.
I can move so many big things with that.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, there's that little, it's part of everybody's lizard brain, I think.
Yeah.
Like, oh, big machine, move big thing. There's an inherent draw about that.
And I think we saw those particular cranes in Solo, like
in
on
the shipyards.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
With her dad.
Right. Because I mean, this would also be a shipyard of sorts, like maybe a more literal one than I think we're used to in Star Wars. It's not like a space shipyard, but it is. So it makes sense that the same kind of crane would be used. But it just contributes to that lived-in feel of the Star Wars universe, having all of this infrastructure there. I love how deeply they think through things.
Dude, it's kind of like an AT-AT a little bit. I don't know. I just love it. I love it so much. It's so good. It's so good. Cranes. Cranes. So they get it out of the water. Din talks to the dock worker afterward. The guy promises he can make it fly, which is not as reassuring as it sounds, but sure. Okay, thank you. Then they kind of just work their way into the crowd on Trask, and in the crowd, Frog Lady spots Frog Man.
Yeah. Mr. Frog Lady, actually.
I've never been so jealous of this moment.
Just green with envy.
What a lucky frog that is.
For sure. He has a catch.
He does.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but
they're very sweet, though. I love it. It's genuinely heartwarming to see these, like creature characters be as warm and like I believe their reunion, even though they're like people wearing huge foam latex costumes.
Yeah, I believe it, and that's the magic of Star Wars to me. Because like when they reunite, it gets very emotional. Everybody's watching. Meanwhile, Grogu is giving the eggs the same look he gives literally every edible object in the galaxy. He still is like, those eggs are pretty good. He's gonna miss the eggs. And Din promises Grogu actual food. Like, hey, dude, we're on a planet now. I can get you some food.
It's like, I know you feel like your meal ticket is about to leave you, but that's not the situation.
Right. And so he asks Frogman where he can find other Mandalorians. And at this moment, we see a hooded woman who hears him and slips away, suspicious, low-key. remember when back to the trailer the trailer for season 2, we totally thought that this was like a Jedi or like a Sith.
A Jedi or a Sith. I mean, black robes. So of course,
yeah.
Only Luke Skywalker wears black robes. If you're a Jedi, I guess Anakin does as well. But we saw how that worked out.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you're just shown this and with only the context that, like, hey, this is in Star Wars, I think that's a pretty logical conclusion.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be too hard on our past selves. But it's actually, I can't.
Mercedes.
So it's Mercedes Monet / Sasha Banks from various
Verano,
wrestling.
I think, is her last.
Mercedes Verano.
I think
that
that's
sounds
her last
correct. Yeah, Snoop Dogg's cousin. And
no way.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
I'm pretty sure I have that right. But yeah. Very successful professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Great addition. I think she brings a physicality to we'll get into the role she actually ends up playing in a minute, but
sorely missed in season 3.
Yeah.
I feel like she should have been in season 3. Of course she couldn't because of her wrestling obligations and stuff, but
right.
It would have been awesome if she were in season 3. So yeah, she appears watching and then she disappears. She does the cool Batman thing. And the frogs lead Din and Grogu to a dockside inn full of Mon Calamari and Quarren. And just to reiterate, if you're listening to this for the first time, maybe you didn't see The Mandalorian when we watched it the first time into breakdowns of this 5 years ago. Mon Calamari and Quarren are from the same planet, which is Mon Cala. Sometimes it's called Dak, is another name for it. But it's a watery planet. They both are from that planet. They're both species that have been warring with each other since the inception of, I think, thoughts on that planet.
Pretty much. It's Capulets and Montagues.
Yes.
It's that kind of deal.
Yeah.
Hatfields and McCoys.
Right. And so it seems like we were talking about, Trask is just a colony of Mon Cala at this point, I would say.
Do we know if it could even be in the same sector or
that's a good question. I would have to pull up the galaxy map to look, but that would take way too long because there's like 1 billion planets on that thing.
It's a control F search would really help with that sometimes.
Probably.
Important update: Sasha Banks is / Mercedes Monet / Mercedes Verona is indeed Snoop Dogg's cousin, and he did accompany her to the ring at WrestleMania 32.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So Mon Cala, Quarren, the den's full of them.
Yeah.
The inn, rather. So Din orders Trask chowder for Grogu. The server insists Din order something, so Din barters for information instead. He's looking for other Mandalorians. The server says people in Beskar have been through recently and talks to a Quarren boatman. Grogu tries his soup. A tiny tentacled creature jumps out and grabs his face. Din removes it with the energy of a very tired parent. And the Quarren boatman tells Din that he can take him to other Mandalorians. It's just a short trip by boat. And of course, it will cost him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that like everyone knows that the Mandalorians are here. Like obviously even Frog Lady knew that the Mandalorians were there.
Right.
Dr. Mandible found out that the Mandalorians were on Trask. By the way, I am working on that fan fiction now. I want people to know I've sketched out a rough idea of a story, and it will be coming very soon on our Patreon, patreon.com/The Mandalorian Watch. You'll get that one for free.
Amazing.
Because I don't think that we can actually sell that.
You don't think that that's worthy to have a paywall in front of it?
Just the legality of it. I think it's going to be so good that Lucasfilm's going to be like, I think we need to sign a book deal immediately about Dr. Mandible. You'll never guess who he's going to get him to fly him around. You'll never guess.
I don't. Neon Numb.
Nope.
Lay it on me.
I'm gonna leave it. It's a tease.
All right.
But he also has a Jawa mechanic for the ship. How about that? His name's Zed.
Zud. I like that a lot. I can't wait to read about the exploits of
Dude, it's gonna be
Dr.
great.
Mandible and Zud.
It's going to be awesome. All right. So all that to say, he's going by boat and he's going to find the other Mandalorians, I guess, across the sea. That's the idea of like these Mandalorians are across the sea. And then enter Bodie McBoatface. That's what I have in my notes. I remember we did a poll back when the trailer came out of like, what are we going to name this boat?
Yeah.
And we ended up on that because there was like at the time, like the same thing going on with an actual boat.
I think it was either Australia or Canada. I'm sorry to those two countries for getting you confused in this one particular matter. Because it's pretty hard to confuse otherwise. But I think one of those countries had a public, like a government vessel that they held a public naming contest, and Bodie McBoatface was what the people came together to declare that they wanted. And
they didn't do it, right?
No, I think they did it.
Okay. Okay.
I think they honored it, but we had a similar poll going on for this boat, and we also had a similar result.
Yeah. So Din and Grogu are on a Quarren fishing boat headed out to sea. The vibes are tourist trap, but with more barnacles. And I love the zoom in on this boat and the music playing dun 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 dun. It's the travel music, right? Like anytime he's traveling, it's the theme, and I love it so much.
It just screams adventure to me.
Yes.
And so I think that's why it often comes up in transit, is because it's like, all right, we're going somewhere new and fantastic. It's like how the Indiana Jones theme, I think, kind of is synonymous with heroics. Like it always plays when he's in a moment of doing something daring to save the day kind of deal, or to make it through the fight. And so in a similar way, because that's how leitmotif works, I think they do use the Mandalorian theme to really emphasize just that sense of adventure and not knowing what's going to be, up behind the next curve.
Dude, I love the Mandalorian so much. I remember like when I was watching this earlier, I just got the biggest grin on my face at this scene of like, let's go.
Yeah.
I love this show. It's the best. One Quarren asked Din if he's ever seen a mama core feeding, says it's quite a sight, and insists Grogu will love it, which is always a red flag when it comes from a guy holding a spear of like, the kids will love seeing this mama core eat. Let's show the kids.
I thought that mama core was the genre of music that the Indigo Girls made. I had to do it.
Mama core. That's Frog Ladies genre. What is wrong with me? The Quarren drops a net of fish into a big opening in the deck.
I think what's wrong with you is that your co-host cannot stay on target today.
The mama core launches up and devours them instantly. Honestly impressive. Also terrifying. While talking, the Quarren suddenly slams his spear into Grogu's floating cradle, knocking it straight into the pit. Grogu and the cradle are swallowed whole in seconds. I remember I literally gasped the first time I saw this. I was like,
yeah. I mean, like, it seems like he's gone.
Yeah.
It is shocking. And like, I almost have a physical, like, my body wants to go into action when jump. I see this happening. Yeah. Like, oh no, I gotta do something.
Yeah.
Can't just sit here.
No.
It's a truly terrifying moment.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Din immediately dives in after him. The Quarren slams a grate shut over the opening, trapping Din below deck and trying to drown him so they can steal his armor, which is a really bold strategy for guys just wearing sweaters.
Yeah.
We want your best car.
They're now, also terrible at poking with spears. Like,
because they don't have human hands.
I guess they have like stormtrooper level marksmanship with these pole arms. Like Din's 2 feet away and trapped, and they can't hit him.
Okay, so I think this does lend to the theory that Alex from Star Wars Explained had when we had them on 2 weeks ago. And he presented this in the first episode of the season, that Gideon is hunting Mandalorians for Beskar. Maybe you also kind of added on to that of like, it's for the Beskar for the Imperial Commandos.
I think that's Alex still.
Yeah. And people are just openly attacking Mandalorians because, like, think back to the first episode and Gor Koresh, claiming to be a Mandalorian hunter, has gotten Beskar. These dudes, the Quarrens, want the Beskar. I think there's like just kind of understood in the underworld right now that some big player wants Beskar and they're willing to pay a lot for it.
There's just kind of like a general standing bounty for Beskar armor. Not maybe on any official bounty board, but everybody knows what's up.
Secretly under the table. And you know what, like, part of me wonders too if Gideon killed the client because he gave Din Beskar for payment.
Yeah. I think he killed the client just as the client was like some holdover of the Imperial political machine, and he was just he outlived his usefulness. But part of outliving that usefulness could be indeed handing over an entire Camtono of Beskar.
Right. Entire Camtono. Oh, crazy. So just as they're about to finish the job, 3 armored figures with jetpacks drop onto the deck like they're ordered a heroic entrance from a catalog. Their entrance is just the best. And like the music too, like the Bo-Katan Night Owl music is just
cool. Stylistically it's perfect because it clashes so much with, like, Din's theme is so Western inspired. It also has this very kind of tribal feel with the drums and all of that. And then, but it's all very organic sounding. It's all very classic. And then there's a lot of synth elements that support the Night Owls. Whenever they're in action, there's kind of this trancey synth going on.
Yeah.
And I love that juxtaposition because they have a completely different way of life, perceived history, all of that. So while being so similar in a lot of ways and, looking basically exactly the same as Din, I like that right off the bat, even in the score, they're putting a big division between them.
Dude, it's just so good. Their entrance is awesome. Yeah, so the Mandalorians wipe out the Quarren crew fast. One even goes overboard, and a female Mandalorian opens the grate and hauls Din out. He's barely upright, but tells them the Mama Core has Grogu. She dives in without hesitation. This is Cosco Reeves, by the way. While the other two help Din recover, underwater explosions ripple up to the surface. Clearly, the rescue is already in motion, and moments later, the Mandalorian resurfaces with Grogu's damaged cradle. Grogu is fine, though, definitely reconsidering his trust in strangers. The 3 Mandalorians stand together as Din thanks them, and then I'm kind of titling this section of the episode A Crisis in Faith, because this is really where the show addresses, hey, that's not how you've handled Mandalorians in the past. So how does this work? What are the rules for Mandalorians? We get it right here in this scene.
Yeah, and it's good they give it to us because, for people like us, we were able to go through a first season kind of being like, all right, we're putting aside what we know.
Right.
We have all this knowledge of everything that Mandalorians have been, both in the EU and in canon sources that the Mandalorian is going to have to be playing with in terms of the overarching story. But like, we can go a season being on board with all that and being patient with the explanations. Eventually, though, we're going to need some answers. We can't just go the whole series being like, yeah, if it's inside the Mandalorians are this. And if it's outside of that particular story, they're this. I like that, the in-world conflicts between the two ideologies are addressed as soon as the two groups meet each other.
It's so good. Yeah, so Din asks the new Mandalorians where they got their armor. Bo-Katan tells him it's been in her family for 3 generations. Din freezes when they take off their helmets.
Yeah.
He immediately declares that they're not Mandalorian. Like, whoa, what do you like? Because this is the second time it's happened to him in a few days. Of like, why do people keep doing this?
Like, none of the Mandalorians that I keep finding are, in my view, Mandalorian.
Right.
And it's in this case, I think it's an even bigger shock because he just watched them work together exactly like a group of Mandalorians would work together to kick some major butt,
Yeah.
I think like they immediately earn his respect and recognition. Like he recognizes their skill, like, and everything like that in a way that he doesn't get a chance to with Cobb right off the bat.
Right.
So I think the fact when they take off their helmets, and it's an even bigger shock because it's like up until now, you looked like a Mandalorian, you fought like a Mandalorian, you smelled like a Mandalorian. I thought you were Mandalorian. But this one difference is going to be able to be enough to throw like my entire worldview off its axis,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah. So they all have their helmets off, and we see Bo-Katan in live action for the first time, played by Katie Sackhoff, who voices her on the Clone Wars. Looks just like her. Which is incredible. She doesn't age like everybody else in Star Wars, which good on her. Yeah. Though I don't love this version of the wig, and like it is the first outing of live action Bo-Katan, so keep that in mind. Just like with Ahsoka, like when we see Ahsoka for the first time, they keep changing and evolving her. Even in season 2 of Ahsoka, I've heard that the headtails are going to be a little slightly different again, because they want to get it better. I think it's the case with Bo-Katan, but like immediately I remember when she took off her helmet, I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane.
Like there's only one person this could possibly be.
Right.
And the fact that this character that we had been talking about in a huge way for months, even before the first season came out, because we were rewatching the Clone Wars and Rebels. Just to see I don't know, like I don't hold the mediums of live action and animation as, lesser or greater than you. No. There's no interaction like that.
You could make the case that animated Star Wars is better.
Right. So like, I'm not saying anything.
Like, okay.
Right. Not saying anything about like this statement. I don't take it to mean anything bad about what animation or anything. I think it's a super valuable storytelling medium. But there is like a validation that I experience when something from animation makes it to live action. Just knowing that there's more,
it all counts,
more budget, more faith being put kind of behind the characters and the concepts, and there's just like it is really validating for a fan who tries to take in everything that Star Wars is. I don't know. Do you also feel that way, that like live action, Absolutely. There's a certain like finish line feeling that like when a character makes it there, it's like, okay, they've really made it now.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way with Cobb Vanth from The Marshal, right? Like, probably more so in that, because like that's such a bigger leap from page to live action,
right,
than animation to live action. But what I do think that like what you're kind of getting at too is like it's all one universe. It's all shared. It's the thing that they promised, and they're delivering on that promise when you see them in live action. But it's also like what you're saying, like it feels like a bigger deal. I think mainly because it's going to be viewed more by the general audience. And when that happens, I think like it just cements within the culture a little bit more because less people watch animation. That's just a fact. I don't love that. I think more people should get into Star Wars animation. And I do think that's changing, especially with younger generations and stuff. Like anime is huge. It's bigger than it's ever been before. And I think that's just going to help Star Wars animation as it grows too. And I think, views are changing on that, but like for the longest time, people just didn't look at animated content as something worthy of their time. And I think that's changing. And I think if anything, seeing a character from animated make it to live action will get people interested in animated stuff to go check it out.
Right.
And so like I really hope that people who had never seen the Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels, when they saw this character and then realized, oh, she's from the animated stuff, maybe I need to check that out. And they do, and they fall in love with it and fall in love with the world of Star Wars even more. It's like this beautiful cycle that like feeds into itself. And that to me is magic, because it's like there's just something special to see of like within Star Wars more probably than any other property. And it's one of the reasons I think that, we love it so much, is like it truly feels like a real history. Like it's got weight to it of like all this has happened before and all of this is continuing in this huge epic saga. Right. And like, I don't know, there's something special about seeing characters cross over in different mediums, and Bo-Katan probably being the biggest of it until 2 weeks from now. So really, really cool. So the other two characters with Bo-Katan are Axe Woves, who we see a lot more of in season 3. I love Axe Woves.
Yeah.
Great name, by the way.
So Star Warsy. And if you're just going to get across the idea of somebody who's like really his biggest personality traits are he's vaguely handsome and vaguely capable, Axe Woves is a perfect name for that man.
Axe Woves. And then Koska Reeves is
that's Mercedes
Verona.
Yeah.
So
Sasha Banks to me.
Right. They're looking at Din because he's freaking out. He's having like this crisis of faith of like, what are you doing? Why are you taking your helmet off? And like all three of them, their body language changes, it shifts. It's really kind of cool to see them all acting like this of like, oh God. Axe mutters that Din is one of them, and Koska drops a quiet dank Ferric. And then Bo-Katan introduces herself properly. She's Bo-Katan Kryze, Clan Kryze, born on Mandalore, fought in the Purge, last of her line. She tells Din that he is a child of the Watch, a splinter group of zealots trying to revive the old ways. And that's another moment I remember watching for the first time when they said he's the Watch. I was like, they listen to the podcast because we were the Mandalorian Watch originally.
I don't know how much truth there is in that,
None,
but it was certainly a great,
it felt like it.
It was a great moment for us. And we immediately were like, okay, so we're going to be the children of the Watch as soon as we have to do a show that's not the Mandalorian, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. It was, I remember that moment specifically. I remember us texting about it being like, well, we're locked into the branding now. Yeah.
Dude, it felt good. It just felt validating of like, of course, they had no idea about this because they filmed this even like during season 1, right?
Right.
So, but it just was like on some wavelength, we hit the creative wavelength at the same time. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, let's go. Synergy, cool. Man. Synergy. So Children of the Watch are a splinter group of zealots trying to revive the old ways. Grogu coos while Din insists that there is only one way and then rockets off the boat offended. And I think people who criticize season 3, I think there's a lot of valid criticisms of season 3, specifically surrounding Din in terms of like, he doesn't take his helmet off again and where he ends up with that.
Right.
We're going to get into that when we get to that spot in our rewatch, because I think people are kind of missing some things, I think, in terms of, and this is my opinion, in terms of his personal journey with his own faith of like where he's coming from, what he's trying to accomplish and do, and what he believes.
Yeah.
Now, I think the problem is that when Bo-Katan says that they're zealots and that almost like in a negative way, saying that they're like a cult, we take what she says as gold and say she's absolutely right.
Right.
Children of the Watch are a cult. They're bad. Cult is a negative connotation. Children of the Watch are bad guys. And I think going into season 3, we, as a fan base, thought Children of the Watch are going to have to be dealt with. There's going to be a clash between Bo-Katan's group and the Children of the Watch.
We were even kind of putting the Armorer as a potential major villain for season 3.
I kind of would have loved that.
You know, but just based on the anticipated like clash that we felt like was coming. But I think I see what you mean. It's it's like because Bo-Katan is an established character and we've seen her for so long and we know how important she is to Mandalorianism. I think it's easy to just be like, okay, her view is correct because we knew that view first. We have spent more time, with her at this point. But the story's not from her perspective. The story's from Din's perspective.
Right.
So I think the conflict is not, it's like much less about the Children of the Watch versus mainstream Mandalore. And it's way more about the new information that Din has had inputted and how he assimilates that information into his current beliefs, ideologies, way of life. It's like the main narrative meat is not, we want the Children of the Watch to all be Mandalorian, like mainstream Mandalorian, or we want mainstream Mandalorians to be Children of the Watch or anything like that. It's much less about it. Like the interesting story is this man kind of caught between two identities and two value systems.
And what you're willing to give up in terms of your own beliefs for those that you love.
Right.
And we see that play out through this season. And then we see what many people would say is a regression in his character of going back to the ideals and beliefs of the Children of the Watch. Though I would argue, I would present that by the end of season 3, there is room for both beliefs and a lessening of a hardline stance from both sides.
Yeah.
But it's just maybe the way you choose to honor and carry forth as a Mandalorian. Because if we're basing a lot of our information on this conversation that they have, the Children of the Watch are literally just trying to go back to the old ways that the Mandalorians used to be like. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just when you try to enforce and impose that on all the other Mandalorians, which by the end of season 3, they're not trying to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think they're just kind of sticking like, that's what we'll do, and it's okay that you don't.
Right.
Which is a good place to be.
For sure. Because I mean the two groups are stronger working together.
Right.
And both of their survival is ensured better, when they're cooperating and stuff like that. And we get Din kind of as just the like encapsulation of that balance, of that conflict, because he has all of that warring within himself.
Right.
And especially with the new responsibilities of being a parent to Grogu. I think it becomes even more, important that he go through that kind of stuff.
The biggest issue I see them having though now is where do you go with it in the movie? Because you got to show Pedro Pascal's face.
I feel like it would be a huge missed opportunity.
It's not a miss. Like I literally think that you have to do that. You can't have a whole Mandalorian movie and not show Pedro Pascal.
I mean,
it's a movie.
They had a whole season.
It's a movie. You have to.
I don't know.
No, I'm telling you, we are going to see Din's face again in the movie, but how do you do that? That's the biggest question is because where he ended up in season 3, he's pretty firm Children of the Watch here. Right. So how and why does he take his helmet off again?
I really think that that's maybe too much of an assumption that we're gonna see Pedro Pascal's face.
You want to make a bet?
No,
because I will bet you cold hard cash credits that we do see Pedro Pascal.
I don't know. We'll come up with a wager. We can come up with some kind of public humiliation ritual as the
pie in the face,
the steak for
after the movie. After we watch the movie with all of our fans and listeners in a theater together, and if we don't see Pedro Pascal, you all get to pie me in the face.
Yeah, and if we do, it's me.
No, we'll just eat the pie. I think.
We'll do something like that. I think that could be interesting. Because
we'll
really think we may be surprised that
there's no way.
I think the visual identity of the helmet may be more valuable at this point than the star power of Pedro Pascal. Like, I love Pedro, and I think he's on a hot streak at the moment, but I still just think
I know what you're saying. Yes,
the visual, like it's almost easier and cleaner to keep organized in your head when you're already having to adjust your suspension of disbelief to accommodate a tiny green toddler with huge ears. Sometimes it's easier to just look at a visor.
Okay, we'll see. At sunset, Bo-Katan's team blows up the Corran fishing boat and peels off in jetpacks. Din and Grogu watch from the shore, probably reconsidering all their life choices. Wonderful shot. Love this shot.
It's so beautiful, and it didn't need to be. It's not. It's just a little something extra added in there, and I love those touches. I think Bryce Dallas Howard is prone to have those little special moments that it's just a little icing on the cake,
Just a little sprinkle. That night, Din gets jumped by brother of the Corran he tangled with earlier, and the gang threatens to kill Grogu, who they assume is a house pet, by the way.
Yep.
Before things escalate, Bo-Katan's squad shows up, and she casually tells the Corran she killed his brother. I loved this scene of she goes, "He didn't kill your brother, I did," and then they all just pull out their guns and kill every single one of them.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Mandalorians, man.
I can't remember if it's this scene or the one before that Costco Reeves gets this insane drop kick on somebody.
The one before, yeah.
Yeah. But I love how willing and ready the Mandalorians are to just go to work. Because that's what we wanted from our, little action adventure series in a science fantasy world.
Right. Dude, it's so good. Bo-Katan, after that, offers Din a drink, which is Mandalorian for let's go talk business. At the bar, Bo-Katan explains Trask is basically a floating black market, and Imperial weapons are passing through it constantly. Her team is intercepting those shipments to gear up for taking back Mandalore. So again, they're setting up that season 3 storyline. So people, I don't know, why people maybe were shocked any of that happened. I will argue that, if you were going to make a movie, it's the Taking Back Mandalore is the movie, in my opinion. That's big enough for a movie.
I also, it's insane to me that it's not a story like that we're going to see.
Yeah, right. It's more of a...
That's one thing we can be sure of, is that the movie's not going to be that.
Yeah. Unless they do, again, because sometimes they like to, let's run it back.
They've just shown us footage from the first 7 minutes of the movie. Yeah. I'm really hoping that that's what ends up being the case, and there's just a massive surprise, and leaving us in suspense this long is going to pay off. I'm getting worried the longer we go. A
little bit, but maybe that Empire magazine thing will reveal all. Who knows? So Din insists Mandalore is cursed and anyone who goes there dies. Bo-Katan calls that Imperial propaganda meant to divide Mandalorians. Din says that this still isn't his mission. He has to return Grogu to the Jedi. And Bo-Katan asks what he actually knows about the Jedi, and Din admits nothing. As Casca slurps a tentacle, Grogu watches like it's entertainment. He's kind of into it. Bo-Katan offers Din a deal, help with one mission, and she'll send him to a Jedi.
Yeah,
which is cool.
And we're
later that night,
well, we think we kind of know who that Jedi is probably going to be based
probably.
on because Clone Wars season 7 had come out at this time, right?
Yeah.
So you know that we kind of know who she's talking about.
We kind of know. So later that night, Bo-Katan brings Din to overlook an Imperial Gazanti class cruiser. Love these ships, by the way.
Yes.
Big Gazanti cruiser guy right here.
Huge into them. I like that they look very Imperial, but it is the perfect ship to steal if you're the hero characters, because it can blend in with a non-Imperial cast of crew in a better way than like if they just stole a Star Destroyer, Right. And like, it's just cool. Again, that visual language from Star Wars Rebels. We saw a ton of these ships in Star Wars Rebels. To see them in this, it's cool. Yeah. It is so cool. So the ship is in a port, actively being loaded with crates of weapons. According to port records, the freighter is scheduled to lift off at first light. Didn't ask about the plan. He assumes they're considering stowing away. Koska explains that their group has been hitting Imperial ships too often lately, and the Imps now run full life form scans before departure. Sneaking aboard isn't an option. So Din's takeaway is this: with 4 of them, they'll need to surprise above everything else. Bo-Katan outlines the approach. The freighter stays at trawler speed inside the shipping lanes before climbing to orbit. Once it's cruising low and slow in Trask's atmosphere, the team will jetpack up to the hull. The control tower won't let the ship ascend until it's clear of port's airspace, giving them a predictable window. And then, of course, the stormtrooper question comes up, and Din asks for a head count. Bo-Katan expects at least a squad, and Axe throws in a classic: stormtroopers couldn't hit the broadside of a bantha, so don't worry about it. Not a big deal, right? Stormtroopers can't shoot.
Yeah, they can't. Except they can, actually. You guys just have really great armor. That doesn't hurt you. So before the mission, Din stops by the frog couple's home, and he asks them to watch Grogu for the night. Gives Grogu the usual lecture: behave, try not to eat anything alive, respect your host. Unclear if Grogu understands or cares about any of what he's saying. And the frog lady lets Grogu sit near the egg canister just as the first tadpoles hatch, which instantly captivates him, for once in a non-hungry way, hopefully.
Yeah. I probably read too much into this scene, but I really love it. I think Din is a great father to Grogu and does everything he can, and there's such a real love and fierceness there, like a passionate love there.
Yeah.
But he's maybe not the best person to show Grogu all of the lighter sides of the galaxy.
He needs a mama.
I love these moments where he gets to witness, like, learn about life and the way that the world turns, and he's not just being a destructive force of eating the eggs. He's also like getting to learn about maybe why not to do that. It's like, because it's the potential for new beings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like for a Jedi, like a future Jedi, I think these kind of things are super important. And because, whereas like a hungry kid eating something he's not supposed to is not necessarily the dark side. It's not being shown this better way and like being shown more appreciation for the world around him.
Right.
So I think these little moments are really important for that. Again, reading a lot into it, but
that's what we do.
That's what we do.
So let's get to the heist. Dawn on Trask, the Imperial Gazanti is lifting off at low speed, just like the port manifest promised. And boy, this shot, I am telling you something else. This is an incredible shot. Just to see that big, beautiful Gazanti cruiser lifting off so slow. And then you see Bo-Katan, Koska, Axe, and Din jet up behind it. Woo!
Yeah.
What a shot.
It's cool stuff. It's stuff that, there was a time I thought I'd only see stuff like that in animation. So
no. I'm giving all the credit to Bryce Dallas Howard here because like her episodes just have that extra flair that a lot of others don't. Like stuff like this make a huge difference in my mind.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Like watching through this go around, it was I had a renewed appreciation.
Yeah. So they jet up behind it and immediately yeet the stormtrooper guards overboard. One manages to radio in pirates before becoming window decoration on the bridge viewport. And I love the bridge reaction too. Like the captain asks, how many are there? The stormtrooper says, it's hard to say. It feels like 10. Officer scans to show 4. And then it's like, well, they're Mandalorians. And then immediately dies.
It's like 4 Mandalorians feels like 14 other people.
Right.
So...
Yeah. Inside the freighter, the squad pushes down the hallway toward the cockpit, shredding troopers as they go. Bo-Katan's just absolutely murking these guys.
Again, just going to work. I love seeing the Night Owls especially work together. Yeah. And I love seeing Din's different approach to the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So the captain demands a climb to orbit now. Even though the freighter hasn't cleared the harbor, the pilot protests, says that he's in the way that we're all dying anyway stage of command. Mm-hmm. And the stormtrooper resistance keeps going. Another squad arrives. They're growing. The fighting's getting a little more intense as they get deeper into the ship. And the Mandos toss a smoke charge and move through them with ease and drive toward the cargo bay. Down below, the security officer is trying to sound confident while telling his men to hold them. They will not.
In the Arrested Development narrator voice.
Yeah.
They will not.
Cargo bay showdown we've got here. Troopers line up at the turbo lift. The Mandalorians arrive, wipe the hallway clean, and the security officer slams every blast door closed, proud of himself, announcing he's trapped them in the cargo control. And the captain immediately face palms because cargo control equals the room with the giant ejection bay.
Yeah, the big red button that they can press that's going to send all of them into the sky. And
that's exactly what they do.
Yeah. They would have been fine, but they made the job easier for them anyway.
In KOTOR, you would have to go back to the previous rooms to find enough spikes to do that.
Or have the droid with you.
Right.
Those are your options.
Yeah. So the Mandos open it and the security team is instantly vacuumed into the sunset. And then Bo-Katan gets on the comms and she cheerfully informs the bridge that the weapons are neatly packed and perfect for a division of Mandalorians. And the captain threatens a retaliation and Bo-Katan informs him that they're not taking the weapons. They're taking the entire ship. And she tells him to put on a pot of tea. Dude, it's just
the confidence with which she's not breaking a sweat this entire time.
No.
I don't know if she really even needed Din as backup. Like, I don't know if that was her main motivation for this being kind of the condition of sending him to a Jedi.
Or it's like a test for him.
That's almost more what it feels like because the 3 Night Owls seem to have it. Yeah. Until there is a moment where they're glad to have Din with them, and it's his kind of different way of going about things that does come in handy and save the day. So So Din at this point pushes back a little bit. He said, "This is more than I signed up for," and Bo-Katan says that these are something that she needs to help retake Mandalore and rule it. And the Imperials know where it is, and she's about to make the captain tell her. Bo-Katan makes it clear she wants the freighter for battles ahead because she's taken Mandalore, and Din pushes back. He held up his end and got her the weapons, and she changes the terms and helps her take... He's got to help her take the whole freighter, and then she'll send him to the Jedi. I have altered the deal.
It's that moment.
I do not alter it further.
Yeah, and Din protests because of course he does, and Bo-Katan hits him with "This is the way." And like I love the turn on that of like, I'm using your words against you.
Really digging that knife in between the ribs.
Yeah, and Din caves. He's okay. This is the way. We'll do that then.
Yeah.
Aboard the freighter, the captain calls Moff Gideon for help, and Gideon realizes it's the same Mandalorian pirates hitting their supply line. And the captain, by the way, this captain is the man in black and Lost, by the way. I just needed to say that. Big character. The captain asks for reinforcements. Gideon shuts that down immediately and tells him, you know what to do. Translation, crash the ship before they can take it. Captain Salute says, long live the Empire, then shoots his own pilots and starts putting the ship into a terminal dive. Very normal Imperial problem solving here happening. Bo-Katan's team pushes towards the bridge. Heavy troopers with repeating blasters are slowing them down. They're not going to get there in time. Everyone's going to die. But Din takes point because apparently he's the only one willing to eat a full clip of blaster bolts to the chest.
Yeah.
And use 2 grab charges to clear the final squad. He also has that pure Beskar, so I think that helps.
It probably does help. Yeah, he certainly puts a lot more faith in his ability to just soak up some blaster bolts. I think I was trying to say, he's got a different way of operating than the Night Owls. He's also like a little bit I think his self-preservation impulses are a lot easier to push down for Din.
Yeah.
Based on just where he's coming from and the kind of living that he does in the covert versus what the Night Owls are doing. So
just a different take on life that they have.
Right.
Just a different take.
It is a good thing that they had him with them.
Yeah. So the Mandalorians break into the cockpit and disarm the captain, and Bo-Katan demands the location of the Darksaber. This is the first point in the moment of the show where we acknowledge Bo-Katan used to have it, and now Moff Gideon has it, and the captain smugly says that she already knows who has it, and then bites down on a suicide electric capsule.
I liked that instead of like a cyanide tooth or something like that. It
just electrocutes it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Empire HR must be wild. Like
the paperwork they are just always inundated with must be crazy. I think that's why the Empire doesn't have any kind of like OSHA or occupational safety division, is because all of those people are in HR filing paperwork from all of the injuries that not having
I imagine
occupational safety causes.
Many Cyril Karns work at these places.
Yes,
right?
jobs worths. Thinking this is making them nearer and dearer to the Emperor himself doing these papers.
Yeah, and little do they know, nobody cares. Reeves says that they need to bail. The Empire has already broadcast a distress signal. Bo-Katan orders her team to prep for hyperspace, and she invites Din to join their cause, and he turns her down, still focused on returning the foundling. And then she finally gives him his lead. Ahsoka Tano, City of Caladan, Forest Planet of Corvus, and he tells her to mention her name. And Bo-Katan thanks him and says his bravery won't be forgotten, and they part ways. But how crazy was that, too, of like Bo-Katan just dropping Ahsoka Tano's name of like, she's still alive, and here I know exactly where she's at. That's a big question of like, why are they still in contact with each other? Why do they know where Ahsoka is?
Yeah.
I want to know that story.
Because it's not like, they parted ways at the end of the Siege of Mandalore and said, if you ever need me, I'll be on Corvus. Right. It's not like that happened.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe they've been helping each other with various things.
Well, Morgan Elsbeth does have a Beskar spear, and maybe that's like Bo-Katan's like, hey, keep an eye on this lady.
Well, they both have a vested interest because Morgan. She's also connected to Thrawn, who I think Ahsoka cares more about.
Yeah.
So maybe Morgan Elsbeth is the answer to our question.
I think
we've answered our own question.
Yeah. And that's why we do this.
That's why we verbally process everything for a live audience of anyone who wants to click on it on the idiot. Not a live audience, but
well, maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Yeah, but we didn't know. At this time, it was really unclear if Ahsoka was even in the galaxy.
Right.
We didn't have any of that information.
None.
So this was kind of a big bomb of being like, no, she's here. You can just go see her.
Which is so crazy. Like, just to casually mention that Ahsoka Tano is still alive. Like, It's just like post original trilogy too. That's the big thing.
Well, because and the Rebels, the epilogue, because that's all the information of what we would have had. It is so self-satisfyingly vague about when it takes place and the years and all of that. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, but fun.
But it's fun because it can be anywhere. So we kind of had an idea of what it meant just based on our best guesses of watching the Rebels epilogue. But getting this indication that like, okay, we don't really know, and we're gonna get the new story of what's Ahsoka doing right now, and the promise of at this point we're kind of thinking like, oh, is Grogu gonna become Ahsoka's apprentice? Like what's going on? Because we didn't have Din's trying to get him to the Jedi, and then this is the first Jedi we get mention of. So
crazy.
It's cool stuff.
Yeah, and I love to slightly change the subject, but keep the narrative moving forward. I love the way Din jumps off the ship. So fun. So cool. Din picks up Grogu from the frog couple. The kid is happily playing with the tadpole and not eating it. So there's some growth there.
I think he's learned a little bit about life and the world.
He's petting it. Yeah. Din thanks them, congratulates them on their new spawn, and politely declines more pets. Back at the port, Din discovers the Razor Crest is repaired in the loosest possible sense. The Mon Calamari dock crew did I would say a creative job. Honestly, I think it's worse off than it was whenever it landed.
Yeah, I think it's less functional than when we began the episode.
Literally being held together by ropes.
Yeah. Well, I love it because it's held together like people who only know how to work on nautical ships. Because it's like, it's rigging. It's ropes and nets and that kind of stuff. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, so Din straps Grogu into the co-pilot seat. Better tighten those things up. And they lift off. A tentacled creature tries to grab Grogu on the way out, but Din stops it, and they jump to hyperspace, and a random part of the ship immediately falls off as they do. And that's the end of the episode. And I remember thinking, like, are we going straight to Ahsoka Tano next week? What are we doing here? This is crazy. But man, I loved this episode so much.
Yeah, it was such a fun rewatch. Just getting to see Bo-Katan in live action, her debut in live action again, and just the amazing. It's a really tight, concise, fun adventure that's just held within this episode too. I think this episode does a great job of kind of delivering on the Mandalorian formula of you have this great self-contained thing happening this episode of, hijacking the ship and all of that, but it advances the overall narrative in a huge way too. And I think that's kind of maybe what makes this episode such a great representation of what the show can be.
This episode was special to me, and it still is. And I liked Bryce Dallas Howard's first episode in season 1, Sanctuary. But this was such a huge step of whoa.
Yeah.
She's legit.
Yeah.
And then the next one that she does in the Book of Boba Fett is honestly, maybe my favorite Mandalorian thing ever.
Yeah. It's my favorite episode of The Mandalorian is in the Book of Boba Fett. So.
Just incredible. And then her work on Skeleton Crew, she's going to have 2 episodes in Ahsoka season 2.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I love that for her, and I really, really hope that she gets to direct a Star Wars movie at some point. Like,
yeah,
I know we're going to be doing episode 10, 11, and 12 one day.
Give one of those to her. I agree.
Yeah.
I'd love her to get to do, like a Starfighter sequel or something like that too. I may actually prefer that than a saga film.
Or she's a showrunner for her own show. Like,
I mean, I put her in terms of the most influential and exciting voices in Star Wars storytelling right now. I put her up there in the conversation with Dave Filoni. And I actually think her filmmaking chops are better. It's just that Dave Filoni has that Star Wars thing,
Here's what's interesting about Bryce Dallas Howard is that I like to think of it almost like the Padawan lineage of like Mace Windu trained Depa Billaba trained Kanan trained Ezra. So in some ways, Mace Windu trained Ezra. Like there's a little bit of training passed down to Ezra that came from Mace Windu. It's the same thing with George Lucas and Bryce Dallas Howard, I think. Like George Lucas, Ron Howard. Howard.
Maybe in a more direct way than all of that too, because like Bryce Dallas Howard grew up listening to her and her like George Lucas
Kira
and her
Kurosawa,
dad talking.
like in Japan, like she would go with them to meet with Kira Kurosawa. Like,
so I mean, it may be even a more direct influence than that.
Yeah,
but
dude, love it. Love it.
It's good stuff. Well, this was so much fun. We will be back next week with Chapter 12 of the Mandalorian Rewatch. If you like what we do, we'd appreciate it if you leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. If you really like what we do and want to support us financially, you can do that at patreon.com/MandalorianWatch. There's all kinds of bonus content and access to a cool Discord community in that for you. I think all that said, check us out on YouTube. Leave us a like and subscribe over there. Check out our shorts and stuff, and keep an eye on the YouTube channel. We got sites on doing some other video content that's not necessarily tied into the audio podcast as well. So,
like YouTube exclusive stuff.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Keep an eye on it the next couple weeks. We'll see.
Woo.
But yeah, all that said, next week we'll be back. And until then, keep the watch.